We're waiting. We have one more speaker who has to join yet, but we're going to now begin, and he can just join when he comes in. We're going to now begin with the recitation of the Holy Quran. Join yet, but we're
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. العظيم.
Thank you and assalamu alaikum. We will now begin. So, for a bit of a context, the World Intellectual Property Day is commemorated today to raise awareness on the role of intellectual property rights in encouraging innovation and creativity and advancement in social and economic rights as well. So the purpose of this webinar is to help the general public learn more about intellectual property laws that impact our daily lives and to raise awareness on the role that intellectual property plays in our lives. This day focuses on celebrating talent and creativity and makes us able to recognize the contributions that creators and investors make to our world, because we have to agree that innovation is what keeps us moving towards a new and more advanced future. The theme for this year's World Intellectual Property Day is Women and IP, accelerating innovation and creativity. And this focuses on the idea and the role that women play in inventions, creations, and entrepreneurship around the world with their groundbreaking work. This day also recognizes the crucial role that female lawyers advocate in advocating and implementing intellectual property laws in Pakistan, and we'll hear more about that from Mrs. Maria Irfan. Uh, Pakistan, in itself, for a bit of a context, has a robust intellectual property regime in place. Though, as most of our speakers will highlight, sometimes the implementation of those laws becomes an issue. On the international front, Pakistan is a party to all major intellectual property frameworks and treaties, such as the Berne Convention, the TRIPS Agreement, and the WTO and WIPO, which are all focused on the protection and advancement of intellectual property rights. With this background to why this day is commemorated, I would now like to begin and request Ambassador Dr. Raza Mohammed, President IPRI, to give his opening remarks for the webinar. Sir, you have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. And let me first of all begin with the appreciation for Maham for selecting this very, very important topic and arranging a galaxy of wonderful speakers for today. And let me inform you, my Maham is still going through COVID. So despite COVID, she is here. And she is a warrior, I always say, fighting against the disease and all that. As far as the intellectual property rights and intellectual property day is concerned, you are all well aware, more than me perhaps. So I'm a non-lawyer, and we have most of the people who are here as experts. And you people know it more than us, but Pakistan it has crossed the nascent state now, and we are also developing our intellectual property laws. We have the Director General of Intellectual Property, and we are in connection with the WIPO, and we are also trying to respect and implement the intellectual property laws. We have a wonderful array of the speakers today. A few of them are recorded messages and few of them would be here. So first of all, when we go to the opening, WIPO's Mr. Darren Tangs, who is director, his message will be played. Then Miss Liza Jogson's message and Ambassador Khalil Hashmi, who is Pakistan's representative there in Geneva. And then we will have presentations by Mr. David and Mr. Ismail, Miss Maria, and of course, Maham will be chipping in. Saath jo hoga. So with this very brief welcome to all, I hand you over back to Maham. Please, Maham.
Thank you, sir. So with this, we will now begin with a video message from Mr. Darren Tang, who currently serves as the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization.
Women innovators and creators have shaped the course of humankind since time immemorial. Ever since the world's first chemist, Taputi, carved her formulas into Mesopotamian clay more than 3,000 years ago, women scientists and thinkers, artists and performers have made our world a better, more vibrant and more prosperous place. This year, on World IP Day, we celebrate the achievements of women innovators, creators and entrepreneurs, whilst issuing a call for further action so that more women and girls from all parts of the world use IP to bring their ideas alive. Despite making up more than half of the planet's population, women just filed 16% of international patent applications. Moreover, women account for only 3 in 10 jobs relating to science, technology, engineering, and math. At WIPO, we want to change things for the better. Our vision is for a more inclusive global IP ecosystem, one with women, youth, and small medium enterprises at its heart. Our logic is simple. In a world that faces a range of urgent challenges over health, the economy, the environment, and more, it is critical that we support everyone in society to realize their innovative and creative potential. I named Lisa Jorgensen, the first female head of WIPO's Patents and Technology sector, as our IP and Gender Champion 2 years ago. Lisa and her team have now published the IP Gap, WIPO's first IP Gender Action Plan. This is a blueprint for concrete action across the IP world and beyond, and we look forward to working closely with IP officers, as well as partners in economy, society, and countries to help more women add value to their ideas through IP protection and IP commercialization. Already, WIPO's work in support of women entrepreneurs, business owners, researchers, designers, craftspeople, and more is having a positive impact in countries such as Chile, India, Jordan, Senegal, Uganda, and many other places in between. But there remains a significant gulf to bridge, as well as structural barriers to overcome. The scale of this challenge should only strengthen our common resolve to act meaningfully, decisively, and through impact-driven policies and projects that bring IP to all. So let's use this World IP Day to redouble our collective efforts to accelerate innovation and creativity by unleashing the world-changing ingenuity of women and girls everywhere. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you. Women innovators and creators.
That was our message from Mr. Tang. And now with regards to Pakistan's context, we have a message from Ambassador Khalil Hashmi, who has helped us in putting this webinar together. So thank you for that, sir. And who serves as the permanent representative of Pakistan to the United Nations and other international organizations in Geneva.
I would like to thank Islamabad Policy Research Institute for organizing this important webinar to mark the World Intellectual Property Day. This year's theme, Women and IP Accelerating Innovation and Creativity, has a special salience for Pakistan. Pakistani women continue to demonstrate a remarkable degree of innovation and entrepreneurship. They are breaking new ground in the digital sector, startups, music, cuisine, and much more. Branding and commercialization are two important vehicles to foster women entrepreneurship as well as a more gender inclusive society. We at Pakistan Mission in Geneva have partnered with the World Intellectual Property Organization to launch a number of initiatives in terms of accelerating women innovation and creativity in Pakistan. I'd like to mention two examples, two projects. First is the supporting women entrepreneurship in embroidery and related handicrafts businesses through IP, branding, and commercialization. This training and capacity building project is currently being implemented in Multan and Bahawalpur regions for 48 women beneficiaries. Secondly, working with WIPO and IPO Pakistan, we are also launching a national IP strategy project in Pakistan to develop a roadmap and foster innovation and IP ecosystem in the country, especially for women. Creativity and innovation are important precursors to development and economic progress. And we are therefore very pleased to see IPRI taking the lead in raising awareness and laying the foundation for partnerships between academia, industry, and the government. We look forward to working with IPRI and other institutions in Pakistan to scale up innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship with a particular focus on women. I thank you.
Thank you. That was our message from our own ambassador on what Pakistan is doing to promote intellectual property. And in line with our theme, we now move on to the message from Ms. Lisa Jorgensen, who currently serves as the Deputy Director General and WIPO's IP and Gender Champion.
Every year on April 26, the world comes together to mark World Intellectual Property Day. This year, we celebrate innovative, creative, and enterprising women all around the world. Women everywhere are playing an essential role in driving change and shaping our future. As WIPO's first ever intellectual property and gender champion, I will do my best to ensure that more women can benefit from the innovation ecosystem. I knew very early on that I wanted to study biology and chemistry. Science and technology have always fascinated and inspired me. During my career, I have also seen firsthand that access to knowledge, skills building, mentoring, and networking can have a huge positive impact in supporting women to rise to whatever challenges they face, including in the world of IP. This is why I am personally very excited that WIPO is working to create a world where everyone, regardless of gender or background, has equal opportunities to succeed and thrive. Volumes of studies show that supporting women and promoting diversity is a great boost for the global economy. In spite of this, gender equality is still nowhere near a reality. This is true in the world of innovation, where we found that only 1 in 6 inventors listed across all international patent applications is a woman, making the intellectual property gender gap a real problem. And although the number of women filing international patents is gradually increasing, at current rates, gender parity won't be achieved before 2064. To ensure that we are not leaving countless brilliant minds and ideas untapped, WIPO has launched an IP and Gender Action Plan with the very telling acronym of IP Gap to help close the gender gap in innovation and IP. WIPO is working at the grassroots level to create new opportunities for women and girls through impact-focused projects. These projects for women entrepreneurs strengthen their ability to make strategic and effective use of IP tools to support their business endeavors. We are also working hand in hand with member states to support their interests in bringing gender considerations into their innovation and IP policies and activities. as well as promoting the exchange of good practices to bring more women into the IP ecosystem. At WIPO, we believe in a world where knowledge knows no boundaries, where education is a right and a force for empowerment. That's why the WIPO Academy has broadened accessibility to e-learning. The Academy offers a number of free online courses, enabling participants from across the world to benefit from WIPO's IP capacity and skills-building educational opportunities. We are proud that over the last couple of years, women comprise 54% of all WIPO Academy course participants. With every course, students are gaining new skills, new perspectives, and creating new opportunities. We commit to continuing our efforts for a more inclusive future for all. So let us join together to celebrate World Intellectual Property Day. Let's use this occasion as an opportunity to advance new efforts supporting women in IP and accelerate women's participation in innovation and creativity.
That sums up the theme for this year's event. And with that, I would now move on to our first speaker, Mr. David Simmons, who serves as the Counselor Division for Asia and the Pacific at the World Intellectual Property Organization. He is responsible for technical assistance and capacity building programs and management of project-based initiatives for WIPO's Regional Division for Asia and the Pacific, which itself is responsible for providing legal and technical assistance to 38 countries. He is also a former Australian patent and trademarks attorney who predominantly worked in the areas of biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and chemistry. Mr. Simmons, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Ms. Naweed, and thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Islamabad Policy Research Institute, IPRI, and it's my honor to be here. So I wish to convey a very warm congratulations to you for organizing this event, and it's an honor to join you and all the distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen also on the live stream. As my seniors, you heard from our Director General, Darren Tang, and from our Women and Gender Champion, Lisa Jorgensen, this is a very, very important World IP Day for us. I've got the honor to join you here, and apologies that I couldn't have the opportunity to be here as well. But this year's theme, the women entrepreneurs, innovators, and improving lives is very important for us. And it's also a pertinent theme, I think, especially in the context of the strong and large percentage of women that are present in Pakistan, as well as many countries that have such a large contribution to the role of supporting the economy. You've heard from Darren and from Lisa that intellectual property is essential as a tool for promoting innovation and creativity. It helps to drive economic growth, allowing inventors and artists and entrepreneurs to safeguard their ideas, their creative endeavors, to protect their brands, their markets. For them and for the use of IP, it's critical, I think, as a tool to motivate. But also, I think, as this year will focus on, women are a very underrepresented portion of the IP system, and this is true in many areas of most economies. But as you heard from our DDG Jorgensen, women represent approximately a third, if not less, than the owners or the creators of IP rights, at least in the IP rights that are filed globally. This is a relatively small amount internationally, and in some countries there are higher levels of participation. But if you were to take a look at the statistics, in reality, before we reach gender parity, we'll be waiting in the area of 2 to 3 decades, if not more. So I think the best estimates are by 2050, we will be reaching gender parity, at least in the patent system. And that's at a global level. Domestically, it's a little bit different. But I'd like to talk a little bit about how WIPO is working to support the innovation ecosystem globally, and a little bit on what we're doing to help support the Pakistani government. and to help the innovators in Pakistan to better utilize the IP system for expanding their own businesses, for expanding their own creative endeavors. I think it's sort of fairly obvious to say that in general, innovation is on the rise. And as we see, and in my position as a counsellor working for the World Intellectual Property Organization, we see women entrepreneurs are growing in number. In Pakistan, this is a specific case as well, where we see women entrepreneurs increasing and participating more and more. And this, I think, is partly linked to the information age that we live in. Technology is more accessible, information is more available, people are learning more about these things, but there's more we can do. We find that there are still communities that are left out. There are communities where we would like to be able to help and educate and show more about how, in our role as a United Nations specialized agency, how we can help educate not just entrepreneurs, but women entrepreneurs better use the IP system and understand that it doesn't necessarily need to be a barrier for their use. It can be something that can help them create a livelihood from their work, be it, as Ambassador Hashmi had mentioned, in embroidery, handicrafts, or even just as simple as helping agricultural producers find ways to better put their products on the marketplace. So some of the work that WIPO is doing is to try to serve these underserved or underrepresented communities by finding ways to partner with different organizations, be it globally, be it nationally, and to work to utilize the existing framework of laws that are there to understand how we can help others, how we can partner to create awareness of how trademarks can increase the value of a market, how geographical indications might be a way that you can look to provide protection for the origin of your product and find value when it is sold based on this. People will like the idea of a product being from a particular market or a particular area, and this increases the value. And being able to sell this and recognize this internationally does a great job to also promote the role that these producers have in the cultural identity of the country. And in Pakistan, you can look no more to the large mango market that is there. Pakistani mangoes are well known and well regarded. So these are the prime examples of geographic indications are waiting to be harnessed and used to promote not only the growth and potential, but also to reward the agricultural producers in the regions that are making and growing these. I think one of the challenges that is always faced is the legal framework. Are the laws compatible? Are we doing enough to be internationally comparable? More and more, the intellectual property system is becoming part of the global trade network. And hand in hand with that is a need to be internationally comparable. That's not to say that you can't maintain your own views and ideas of what the IP system should be for your country. And it's critical that countries, when they look to ensure that their IP laws are fit for what their people require, what the industries need, what the creators need, because I think we should also keep in mind that Pakistan has a very, very strong creative industry that could benefit from expansion and use of copyright. That there's a need to ensure that it's serving its purpose. The IP system is a way to help not only reward creativity, but also to ensure the economic sustainability of industries. And we at WIPO, we want to help countries to ensure that the IP system is fit for purpose. We work hand in hand with government agencies. We work quite closely with the Pakistani mission in Geneva to ensure that our services and our assistance can be provided in a way that's helpful for your community. I think it's really kind of a give and take approach as well. I think as a community, you also need to let your legal institutions, in your lawmakers, know where the system can be improved. I think it's essential for the approach that most countries take to listen to their community and understand that in working to support the growth of the IP system, and this is a strong focus, of course, from my organization, that you do it in a way which is listening to what the needs are. As mentioned by Ambassador Hashmi, WIPO will be working to support the IP Office of Pakistan and the government in helping to create a national IP strategy. And I think this is a great opportunity for the community to provide a voice as to what it is that they would like from the IP system, as well as the government trying to create an IP system that can help grow the future entrepreneurs in Pakistan over the next 20 to 50 years. The more and more the system, as we see it, is fastly changing and fastly evolving. And from a legal and policy perspective, the system has to be flexible enough to adapt to that change as well. And that's something that we focus on when we work with countries and governments to ensure that their laws are open as a way to allow for growth and to not be a block, not to be a barrier for the use of the system. I think what I will sort of say in closing is that WIPO has many different ways that we've worked with the government of Pakistan, with its community, with the citizens. One of the most relevant ways that I think the community can interact and benefit from the IP system is through the TISC system, the Technology Innovation Support Center network, that is a very strong network in many areas of Pakistan, and in many ways is, I think, it's a second arm to the IP office to help the IP office educate and train on how IP can be used. These are technology offices that are usually located in universities, and they provide services to the community on how you can use the IP system. I think in some cases they might be referred to as ORICs in Pakistan, but at the same time they have the purpose of making the IP system accessible to those that need it. And we, from WIPO side, strongly encourage the community to use that system, to benefit from it, and to work using those tools that are available, and to communicate where they're not working. We are a needs-based organization. So if we understand that there's a need for WIPO to do more work, to work with the IP office, we're happy to do that. So I would suggest, where possible, to communicate that there is gaps and highlight those so that we can work together to help change that, to close these gaps, and in working to do that, close the gaps of gender imbalance. I think this is a critical notion that we are working to promote in all of our activities to really grow the participation of women. And we see this growing, but I think we would like it to grow faster. We'd like to accelerate this and to ensure that women have a strong position and representation in the IP system, as well as everybody. So with that, I'll provide just a short conclusion and say a great thank you again for the opportunity to be here. WIPO stands ready to assist and support the IP office, as well as the community use the IP system. And I think we can hope to ensure our ongoing commitment to support the creators and innovators in Pakistan, especially on World IP Day, as a way to celebrate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Simmons, for summing up the efforts that WIPO is playing in promoting intellectual property in Pakistan. Our second speaker is Mr. Muhammad Ismail. Mr. Ismail serves as director at the Intellectual Property Organization, Pakistan. He is responsible for dealing with different IP management and policy issues, including patents, industrial designs, IP enforcement coordination, geographical indications, genetic resources, traditional knowledge, and folklore. He holds an MPhil from Quaid-e-Azam University, Islamabad, and an LLM in intellectual property from Ankara University, Turkey. So you may begin your presentation now.
So thank you very much, madam. And good morning, everybody. On behalf of Intellectual Property Organization of Pakistan, I congratulate all the international community on World IP Day with the theme of the year. I have a short presentation for the participants. At the end, I will present message from Chairman IPRI Pakistan on World IP Day this year. So it's a very short presentation for introduction of intellectual property organization and functioning and progress made by IPRI Pakistan and what IPRI Pakistan is doing for women innovators, creators, and inventors in Pakistan. So this is vision of our organization. We have set our vision to place Pakistan on the intellectual property map of the world as an IPR compliant and responsible country and ensure effective use of the IP system as a contributing factor in achieving the country's goal of moving towards the knowledge-based economy. Our organization in Pakistan is responsible to administer all IP laws enacted by the Parliament of Pakistan, and my organization, IPRI Pakistan, controls, manages, and supervises working of all IP offices in the country. We are also responsible for enforcement coordination in the country with the law enforcement agencies. Promotion of IP education, research, and awareness is also one of our core functions. And then we advise our government on IP-related policies and issues. We also coordinate with counterpart international organizations, including World Intellectual Property Organization on behalf of the government of Pakistan. This is legal framework in Pakistan related to intellectual property rights. We have umbrella legislation, IPO Act 2012, and we have Patent Ordinance 2000, Trademark Ordinance 2001, Copyright Ordinance 1962 amended in 2000, then Registered Design Ordinance, Registered Layout Design Software Integrated Ordinance, and the latest legislation in Pakistan is the Copyright Indication Act 2020. We also have Plant Breeders' Rights Act, but it is administered by the Federal Seal Certification Department in Pakistan. So this is overall legal framework of intellectual property rights in Pakistan. Our organization is working to manage and administer IP rights in Pakistan. As far as IP legislation is concerned, we have introduced new legislation, as I have mentioned in the last slide, that is geographical indication. We are also working on amendment of IP laws, including copyrights, trademarks, patents, in line with the changing global environment and the technological development all over the world. We have streamlined IP registration system in Pakistan. We have started online e-filing for trademarks, for patents and copyrights. We are working on it. We have also introduced IPAS, Industrial Property Application System provided by World Intellectual Property Organization. And we have also introduced a separate automation and registration system for copyrights in Pakistan with the name of CAS, Copyright Administration System. We have digitized our record and we have introduced new technologies according to international standards. We are also working to introduce artificial intelligence in the registration system of Pakistan. We are coordinating with law enforcement agencies for effective enforcement of IP rights in Pakistan. We have 11 coordination committees in 11 zones of Pakistan, including federal capital and provincial capitals, as well as business hubs in the country for effective enforcement of IP rights and to curb the menaces of piracy and counterfeiting. We have also established specialized IP tribunals for speedy justice and timely litigation of IP right-related cases in Pakistan. Pakistan has joined merit system in 2021. We are a founding member of WTO since 1995. We are a member of World Intellectual Property Organization since 1977. Pakistan is also a member of Berne Convention on Copyright since 1948. IPRI Pakistan is also working for joining Patent Cooperation Treaty, Wider Internet treaties, and Lisbon Agreement on Geographical Indications, as well as Marrakesh Treaty on visually impaired persons for copyrights. We have institutional arrangements with counterpart organizations at national and national level. We have established 47 TIS centers in Pakistan, Technology, Innovation, Support Centers, in universities, in business hubs, in chambers of commerce and industry, for development of innovation and creativity in the country. And we organize more than 100 sessions every year all over the country for IP awareness and training of IP experts in different sectors. As far as theme of the year is concerned, IPRI Pakistan has taken initiative for the development of women innovators, creators, and inventors. You can see our IPO Pakistan's website link on this slide, and you can see in detail initiatives taken by IPO Pakistan. I have just mentioned here the summary of the activities which IPO Pakistan is doing currently. We have established Women IP Help Desk. Our women officers are appointed on these desks to support the women innovators and creators for protection and registration of their IP rights. We have introduced pro bono legal assistance for which our women IP practicing lawyers are available for voluntary support and guidance to the IP right creators and developers for protection and registration of their IP rights. We have also given an opportunity to the attorneys, to the IP practitioners and IP lawyers to join as IP attorneys by coming on this page of our website to support and guide others. And you can see links of the important reports and studies which are also available for the guidance of women inventors and innovators. So this is initiative taken by Pakistan for women inventors and innovators. At the end of my presentation, I will present here a message by the chair, IPO Pakistan message by Chairman IPO Pakistan, Mr. Farah Hamid, is also available on our website. Website link is given here. I would just like to read out the message at the end of my presentation. Chair IPO on the World IP Day 2023 has sent message for the international community as well as IP community in Pakistan. And it says Pakistan joins hands with the international community to mark World IP Day on 26th April with this year's theme, Women and IP Accelerating Innovation and Creativity. For any society to secure its true potential, empowerment and inclusion of women and girls is essential. Pakistan has an important heritage of women achievers reaching the pinnacle of their professions, from piloting planes to climbing the highest peaks across the world, from becoming the Prime Minister to playing football and cricket. The women of Pakistan have proven they can achieve the impossible. It is with this spirit that the women of Pakistan will grasp the challenges of 21st century. In a globalized, competitive world, innovation is the key to empowerment. Knowledge of and respect for intellectual property rights provides the tools on this journey. Pakistan's IP policy aims to encourage women, secure and protect their economic rights through innovation and entrepreneurship. Proactive IP education at schools, colleges, universities, and centers of R&D will provide women and girls with the sense and the drive to become equal partners in creating national prosperity. IP is an enabler to achieve economic dignity and self-reliance. The readily available IP tools must be deployed and absorbed, especially by those women traditionally shut out of the innovation and creation to profit pathways. It will be an uphill struggle given that globally patented inventions by women account for only an estimated 16%. But with determined policies paved with the creation of opportunities through the awareness and embrace of IPRs, the women of Pakistan will be fully capable of securing their economic rights and benefits. IPO Pakistan aims to advocate, inculcate, and strengthen the role of women in intellectual property. And with this message, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to me during this important session. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for sharing that inspiring message from the chairman. I would now like to request our third and last speaker for today, Mrs. Maria Farooq Irfan. Mrs. Maria was a Commonwealth Scholar at the University of Cambridge, from where she completed her undergraduate degree. She is currently a senior partner at United Trademark Services, Pakistan and Dubai. Her practice focuses on patent and trademark work, and with a special interest in litigation and regional portfolio management for her clients. Mrs. Maria is also an adjunct faculty member at the Lahore University of Management Sciences, where she introduced a course on intellectual property law. And I've been fortunate enough to be her student actually, and she's responsible for sparking my own interest in intellectual property. Ma'am, you have the floor now.
Thank you so much, Maham. And thank you for inviting me. It makes me really proud to see you as my student and running the show at IPRI. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As Maham said, I'm a lawyer and a woman in IP because I'm someone who practices IP law, and I'm a senior partner in a law firm here in Pakistan. I'm just going to say a few words. I did prepare a presentation, but I think it makes more sense for it to be a little more casual because I'm the last speaker. Generally, as Maham said, and as all the other speakers have said so far, the problem in Pakistan is not one of legislation. You know, in terms of intellectual property legislation, we actually have very robust laws in place. They are quite comprehensive. They are at par with the rest of the world. And with Pakistan joining the Madrid Protocol recently, I would say that, you know, we have actually achieved a lot of the goals which WIPO would have set out for us. So for a regular entrepreneur in Pakistan, the issue does not lie in the fact that Pakistan as a developing country is falling behind in terms of legislation. The problem in Pakistan, as we all know, in other spheres of life as well, is one of access to justice. And that is something that women face more so than men, and men also to a certain extent face in Pakistan. So this is an issue which women entrepreneurs, and specifically with regards to the IP Day, which has been set for women, the IPO, you know, the Legislative Assembly all need to keep in mind, because as all the speakers have stated so far, there is no dearth of women entrepreneurs or women innovators or women in business. And as someone who is practicing in this space, I see and meet women all the time who have businesses and they want to set up, or they want to set up, you know, trademarks or patents or copyrights. The problem lies in number one of the issue is in awareness and information. So if you are a person from maybe a rural background or somebody coming in from a lower economic background, the number one issue would be one of access to information, and secondly, whether you are even aware of what IP laws are. And the second issue is, even if you are aware and somebody is disenfranchising you of your rights, how do you take that person to task? Now, the IPO has done a number of awareness campaigns, and since I am closely associated with mums, I do see that at the university level, there are a lot of awareness campaigns that happen through the ORIX, as you know, David Simmons said. But once again, we're still only hitting the top, you know, 1 to 2% of female entrepreneurs out there. So we need to engage, you know, the women chambers of commerce, you know, various trade bodies in giving this information about IP rights to people. So just as an example, I was involved with RUMS in this training activity for women from Multan through an NGO who were doing handicraft work. So they were doing embroideries and other, innovative work that they were carrying out. And my task was to explain to them what IP rights are. And one of the issues that I faced was, it's just a question of access and bringing things down to that level. All our laws are in English. And anyone at that sort of craftsman level is unable to comprehend what their right is exactly. So a suggestion that I would have for WIPO and the IPO would be to conduct a study by which they bring down the laws to the level of the common man. So maybe they translate it in Urdu, in the respective languages, in Punjabi, in Saraiki, etc., so that people are able to understand, because IP laws are difficult to explain to a layman as it is. But if language is a barrier, then it becomes an even bigger issue. So that is a project that can be undertaken. Secondly, those women crafts people who came were making these very innovative designs. However, they were selling them, to big brands in the cities without, any access to that design once it had been sold. So they had no idea that it was their copyright, that they could actually claim royalties for it later on. And even if one were to explain that to them, the second issue then comes in terms of access to justice. So if someone does take their design, a very big brand and splashes it across, their shops, what are they really going to do? They will not have the money to go to, courts and to fight, long-term battles. So, we've already taken some good steps in this regard, that we have IP tribunals in place. But what we need in Pakistan is really a lower level mechanism of conflict resolution when it comes to IP laws. So that is something that could happen under the aegis of the IPO or as a mediation or an arbitration body. But as we all know, access to justice in general in Pakistan is a major issue. And specifically for IP laws, it's an issue because people don't give it as much credence. And, if their rights are disenfranchised, they don't really have a way to enforce the laws which are in place. So just in my practice, these are some of the issues that I have seen that female entrepreneurs face, and they face widely so. And in our firm, United Trademark and Patent Services, we do try to help people pro bono in that sense. And my firm is actually, 60% female. So it's a very rare firm in that sense, because IP practice is the world over actually a female dominated practice, which is very interesting because law tends to be a very specifically male profession in other, parts of the law that people practice. So, these are just some things that I wanted to highlight that are important for female entrepreneurs. And then I guess we're going to have a Q&A session afterwards, and you guys are welcome to ask me questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We now have the floor open for questions and discussion. So anyone who has a question can please raise their hand and I can unmute you. So I think I'll ask the first question because I had something in mind. And this is from all the speakers. So what I wanted to know is that where does Pakistan stand with regards to international law and IP? So with regards to the framework that's been put in place by WTO and WIPO and the TRIPS agreement, are our laws in conformity with the international standards, or from legal and legislative point of view, more needs to be done to bring Pakistan under the umbrella of the international intellectual property system?
So Maham, I'll David can join in afterwards if he feels that he doesn't agree with what I'm saying. But there's always room for improvement. in any legislative system in the world. But considering the development stage of our economy, I would actually say that we are legislatively, pretty well covered compared to countries of a similar, economic level as Pakistan is. There are certain lacunas in the law, especially since we joined the Madrid Protocol this year. That has been a pretty big step for Pakistan. And our legislative framework is quite comprehensive and quite robust. And as a professor of IP law, the one thing that I would like to add is that this is not a recent phenomenon. As much as the WTO and WIPO are also helping us, we have traditionally always had very secure IP laws because starting from the Statute of Anne in the 1800s, Pakistan was part of the British Commonwealth. And Pakistan was part of the British India, empire. So we've actually had IP laws in place much longer than even the existence of Pakistan. So the laws on the books are actually good. It's the implementation which is more of an issue.
I mean, I might just come in briefly and just to also, I think, agree completely with what Maria said. I think in many ways, Pakistan, from my perspective, and look, my perspective is obviously from a higher level, a different view. From WIPO, we help to manage and govern the IP filing treaties predominantly. And as mentioned by Maria, Madrid was the most recent international IP filing treaty that Pakistan acceded to. And that's a treaty that supports and assists the registration of trademarks internationally. So I think, in the views that I've always seen of Pakistan's legal system, the laws are robust. I think there's always, like every country, areas that change based on technological development. The IP system is one that should be adaptable and motile. But I think the challenge that all countries face is the implementation. There's the laws, but then there's the administration. And if the laws don't necessarily support an IP office to do its job in an efficient way that meets the needs of the population, then maybe there's something that could be streamlined in the laws. I think having too many laws can be a problem, but not having enough laws can also be a problem. Internationally, Pakistan is taking steps to participate more in the global IP system. And that, I think, is something that WIPO has been helping with and very welcome of as well, because of the fact that the view that we take is that it's not a way that actually limits the growth of the IP system domestically. It actually grows the IP system, allowing more participants and more businesses to come into Pakistan and more Pakistani businesses to come out from Pakistan. So one of the more recent treaties, the Madrid Treaty, is one step towards that. And with the recent geographical indication laws, there's momentum to maybe sign to one of the international treaties to support the transmittal of GIs from Pakistan to other countries. And that's what the international legal system, the IP treaties, PCT, the Patent Cooperation Treaty, the Lisbon Treaty for geographical indications, and the others do. They basically help to reduce the administrative burden. And that's what our objective on WIPO side is, to help countries participate and to not be a barrier.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Derek, for your comments. And thank you very much, Ms. Maham, for this important question. As far as Pakistan's IP legislation is concerned, I would like to say it is fully compliant with the Pakistan's international commitments as far as international best practices are concerned. The litmus test for any type of IP legislation is the TRIPS agreement of WTO, Trade-Related Intellectual Property Rights Agreement, which was ratified in 1995. And as I have mentioned in the presentation, Pakistan is the founder member of the WTO. Pakistan made its legislation fully compliant with the TRIPS agreement before 2005. You must have seen during my presentation most of the laws of Pakistan, whether it was patent law, whether it is trademark, copyright, industrial design, integrated circuit, these were revised during the year 2000, 2001, 2002, and this was basically 10 years grace period after TRIPS agreement filed by two countries. As Ms. Maria has mentioned, Pakistan has IP legislation since British era. We also had IP legislation before that time, but as far as current scenario is concerned, Pakistan's IP legislation is fully compliant as far as our international commitments are concerned and as far as international best practice is concerned. So all the minimum standards set out under the TRIPS agreement are followed in the IP legislation of Pakistan. So I would like to mention that Pakistan's IP legislation is fully compliant with the international best practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And since I have another question, since we spoke about the TRIPS and WTO, and this question is for Mr. David Simmons, what role does WTO play in the intellectual property landscape, and like how do WIPO and WTO interact with regards to intellectual property enforcement, especially in developing countries?
Thank you, Maham. Look, it's an interesting question, and I think it's always. I mean, before I joined WIPO, I also had that same sort of query as well. Like, how does the between the two organizations, between the WTO and WIPO, how do we, who takes what share? And I think it's sort of it's not an easy answer. I think like the international IP aspects, IP laws are very much governed by our member states. I think this is the one thing to say. So as an organization, and this goes, I think, the same for the WTO, it's not necessarily our organizations that set the rules or the laws with relation to IP. We are forums where we're here to allow everybody to come together to talk about what they think is the best to do for the international IP community. The WTO has a very different role to play in that. The WTO is connected to the trade aspects of intellectual property, and as Mr. Ismail said, the trade-related treaty, in particular TRIPS, which is it's depending on the direction you look at it, it sets a minimum standard that IP should have in a country for the country to become a WTO member, and that's relatively low depending on the perspective you take, and some countries will have different views to others. From the WIPO perspective, we're more focused on having the IP system function in an efficient way, and we don't necessarily try to push to have TRIPS related standards. We think that they have a role to play in trade. We work a little bit differently, trying to support the participation in the system. And as Maria said, not just laws matter, but also enforcement, and respect for the IP is an important thing to do. And from our view, we try to educate and help the judiciary understand what IP is, how it relates to the business environment. Some countries we work with, their judiciary don't have much of an awareness of IP. So we have, through our WIPO Academy and through other areas, established a judicial training institution, and they work directly with the judiciary to help educate on IP and create knowledge and awareness to help not just educate, but also enforce. So as an organization, we don't really enforce IP. There is no international IP right, so to speak. They're domestic rights, but we help to empower countries to take advantage of their IP system, to learn to enforce IP, and do that in context of their own national legislation. I'm not sure if that was a really clear answer to your question, but it's I think really just to summarize, there's very different, we work together, WTO and WIPO work together specifically in areas such as health as well, because that's an important issue. But there's different roles that we all play.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I asked this question because that comes up a number of times when also we're researching and we're looking at both organizations as to what their exact role is. We have another question, and this is from the Chair Economic Security at IPRI. And his question is, to what extent does intellectual property rights relate to growth of creative economy in Pakistan? So any speaker would like to answer that?
I guess I'll take it because David was just speaking. It to a very large extent is the answer, because the growth of any creative economy depends on IP rights. Your ability to monetize what you have created depends on IP rights. So if you were creating in a vacuum where there were no IP rights, you would just have people encroaching on what you had made, selling it without anything coming back to you. So it provides a very foundational, aspect to the creative economy, and also motivational, as well as, a reason for people to create, because, as with anything else, you would want some sort of a reward for your creation. And that reward comes in because there's IP rights in the middle of your creation to the business that you set up on the basis of that creation. So, just as an example, one person that I helped pro bono recently was someone who creates pop art posters. And, she creates them for the Aurat March, for general, protests, etc. So she considers herself an activist, someone who is extremely creative in Pakistan and is talked about a lot in the public discourse as well. And a big brand of, a clothing retailer took some of her posters and put them up on clothes. So, she, as somebody who is a creative, didn't even necessarily want to monetize what she was doing, but there's a certain moral right attached to your work as an artist, and she wanted it to be safeguarded in a certain way. And if we didn't have an IP rights regime, that's something that she wouldn't have been able to do at all. But, we were able to stop the exploitation of her creations based on the fact that we have an IP regime in the country.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, would you like to add to that with the context of other countries as well?
Thank you. I mean, I don't think I've got too much more to add in the specifics. I think in many countries we see, of course, the creative economy and the copyright sector that supports that is a very, very big motivator for growth. The thing that I will sort of just point out is that many countries now take advantage of the digital environment as well, not just conventional copyright and arts, but also streaming, YouTube, music creation. It's a big growth, and it interlinks as well. I think if you look at the copyright sector, for instance, it has flow-on effects in the trademark sector. Businesses, take advantage of both IP rights simultaneously, as well to grow. You look at the music industry; it benefits from licensing of artists' images to T-shirts, to pencil case covers, things like that. So it has a strong part to play as a pillar in the rest of the growth of the economy. You can't really look at one by itself, but certainly I think ensuring that artist rights are protected and they can monetize their creations receive due reward. I think one of the challenges that a lot of artists face is not knowing what their potential rights are. And I think, as Maria mentioned, that there's many stories you'll hear about where people will unfortunately sign away their IP rights because they don't necessarily know what future awards they could receive. You can look at, even talent shows, for instance, as one example of this, where people sign up looking for fame and to get a music label interested in them, but not being aware that they're locked into a contract where they might not own their IP in their songs and their voice for many years. So these are they're all challenges that are faced in terms of ensuring that people are aware of what they can have and what they can benefit from. And that's, I think, the role that the IP office plays in every country, or the Copyright Office if it's in a separate entity, the role of international organizations like WIPO to educate and make people aware that these are the benefits that you can receive as an artist or a creator or as an inventor of your rights, to make sure that people can monetize and help not just yourself, but grow the economies in the country that they're from.
Thank you. And our next question is from a researcher here at IPRI who wants to know if that IP theft is increasing worldwide with talk rather than substance on curbing it. So what measures should be taken at the official level to or put in place to curb IP theft in Pakistan and globally as well? And from the Pakistan context, we can ask Mr. Ibrahim to chip in.
So thank you very much, ma'am. This question is basically about IPR enforcement and measures to be taken by the government to protect IP rights and enforce IP rights in countries. As far as Pakistan is concerned, we have very good legislation for IP rights enforcement in Pakistan. We have our police and Federal Investigation Agency for inland enforcement of IP rights. The Pakistan Customs is responsible for border barriers. We have established, as I have mentioned during my presentation, specialized IP tribunals to deal with IP-related litigation. The responsibility of any government is to develop systems and then implement these systems. And IP rights are private civil rights. The government or the state can only develop systems to provide opportunities to the right holders for protection of their IP rights. This is the responsibility of the right holder, who should take initiative for any action against the violator of IP rights. Only copyright is the IP right for which the state can take action without the complaint by the owner. Otherwise, all IP rights, whether it is trademark, patents, it is designs, graphical indications, or anything, or any other IP rights else, the complainant himself will have to come for protection and enforcement of their IP rights. Therefore, for copyrights, Pakistan has empowered Federal Investigation Agency for enforcement actions, and also specialized IP tribunals are dealing with IP-related cases for speedy provision of justice to the right holders. And as far as IP legislation for enforcement is concerned, my view is that Pakistan's IP legislation regarding IPR enforcement is completely in the support of the IP right holders, and it is far discouraging the menaces of piracy and counterfeiting. The only thing which we are facing in our society is awareness about IP rights among the right holders themselves. We have very less number of people who come for registration of IP rights, and we have far less number of right holders who take initiative for enforcement of their IP rights. So this is the basically gap in our society which we have to fill. IPO Pakistan your organization, IPRI, and as well as Ms. Maria representing UTPS, our IP lawyers, and also other organizations to create awareness about protection as well as enforcement of IP rights among the right holders themselves. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And we now move on to our next question, which is by another researcher at IPRI. And he wants to ask us, how do you view the IP laws in Pakistan or generally in the world, especially in the context of the third world? So do you see any reforms within IP laws to trickle down the capital associated with IP laws to the people in the third world?
I guess that's probably a question to me. I'm not quite sure I fully understand the question, but maybe I can just talk a little bit on my own perspective. I think that from the seat that I have, I think that, and I mentioned this earlier, I think, the IP system needs to be suitable to the country and the environment and the economy at the current point in time. There's no point in putting in high-level IP protection and seeking long patent terms and extension after extension or very high-level copyright if the country doesn't have the domestic industries that will support. I think we need to keep in mind that like every legal system, the IP system is one that should be responsive to the needs of the people. There is a need for growth, and I think the IP system should allow for that. And the easiest way to do this is by making sure that the IP laws are compatible. Like for example, we have many countries that are WIPO members that are not also members to our international filing treaties, because for them, the IP treaties aren't relevant to the point in time. The IP treaties are helpful for transmittal of IP rights from one country to another to allow for the granting of an IP right in another country. But if you're working with an industry that is only interested in one neighboring market, for example, if it's only doing a lot of its trade with one partner across its border, then a lot of the filing treaties aren't as relevant in the point of time. That's not to say that the IP system won't grow and the country won't grow to take advantage of that. But I think the approach, I think, is that there are IP systems that will work in a developed country that won't work in a emerging economy. And I don't think we should try and fit a square peg into a round hole. I think we also should not use the IP system as a block, and I think that's probably the basis, I think, for what we try to do, ensure that we don't put a square peg in a round hole for a country that won't necessarily benefit from an IP system that's got high level protection, or got areas where it won't necessarily be useful for it at that point of its economic growth.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. And we now move on to our last question, which is from a former ambassador who is part of our IPRI team. Is there a correlation in IP laws and economic sanctions imposed by certain countries? And again, I think Mr. Simmons would be the best person to answer this.
I can give it a try. I'm not fully sure if there's a lot of correlation in terms of if the question is IP laws and sanctions. I don't know if there's any real evidence on that, but my background is not as an economist, so I can't really answer that with real clarity. There is a general sort of linkage between IP and GDP growth. IP does have a role to play in supporting the growth of GDP in a country, but it's, again, in combination with the rest of the policy levers that the government will pull to grow the industries, the creative sector, the industrial sector, that it's got interest in and it's got comparative advantage in the country. I think in terms of sanctions, I don't really know if there are any that I'm aware of where you don't have a sufficiently strong IP system, you're going to be punished for this. I think not on an internationally recognized level anyway.
Thank you. And Mr. Ismail, would you like to pitch in from Pakistan's perspective on if there's a correlation between the sanctions regime and intellectual property laws?
These are indirectly proportional. If there is good IP right system in a country, obviously it is free from sanctions from other countries who have good IP regime. And if IP regime is weak, there must be sanctions from other countries who are complying with IP rights. So I would like to say these are indirectly proportional. This is a literary reply.
Thank you, Mr. Ismail. I would now like to request Ambassador Dr. Raza Mohammed to provide his closing remarks to the session.
Thank you so much, Maham. I think the subject has been sufficiently discussed and very aptly the questions have also been answered. I must compliment you and the galaxy of speakers you could collect, and also those people who sent their video messages. One point I can take forward, the one which was given by Ms. Maria. Can we partner with WIPO or Intellectual Property Directorate of Pakistan to do this work of translation of the relevant laws into Urdu and regional languages? I have a suggestion to make, and then you people are expert and you can comment on it. There is a possibility that we translate all the laws, and I have seen the translation of the laws. It becomes even more complicated when you translate these word by word and section by section and clause by clause. Is there a possibility to write a paper, short paper, giving the rights of the women and naturally the men now as well, about the intellectual work they do, about their brainy things they invent or innovation, as Maria was saying, the women of Multan and other places do. So how to protect those and how to help them to actually get themselves registered, and people like Maria and others who are working pro bono to help them, I think would be of great help in this context. So a point you may consider, a point you may discuss, that should we do it, can we do it, and IPRI can partner actually. Thank you so much with this. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir, and that's definitely something you can look into. I would like to thank Ma'am Maria. Would you like to respond to that?
Just saying thank you, and I agree with what has been said, and it's just a need of the hour. I've really felt that is something that is needed. So it would be WIPO and the IPO, and you guys could come up with something.
Thank you, everyone. Mr. Simmons would like to say something.
Thank you, and I just really wanted to echo maybe the comment from Maria and also from the President Mohammed, that I think that's a great suggestion. I think it's something that we couldn't investigate. We'd be happy to investigate, and I think also to look to find other opportunities to work with IPRI as well, as a policy body to support the awareness as well from our perspective for awareness raising, but also to understand the issues facing Pakistan as well. So I think the suggestion from Maria to help disseminate the laws that are relevant to everybody in all the various languages of Pakistan is a great suggestion. So we'd stand ready to help the IP office in that as whatever way we could.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
With that, we conclude today's session. I would like to thank all our speakers for joining us and sharing their expertise and experience in promoting intellectual property rights globally, as most of them have spent decades in the intellectual property landscape. I would also like to thank the World Intellectual Property Organization for collaborating with us on this, and also Ambassador Hashmi and the Pakistan Mission in Geneva for helping us organize this webinar. Lastly, I would like to thank JS Bank for their generous support that makes it possible for us to raise awareness on international issues such as intellectual property and allows us to play a key role in providing evidence-based policy recommendations and research. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to welcoming you at our future events.